In a dusty frontier town, where pride is the only thing left to hold on to, a weary widow fights to keep her little girls safe. But when a lonely rancher offers her shelter, and something far more dangerous, she must choose between survival and her heart. Will desperation lead to love or ruin? Let's find out.
Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We've got more powerful stories coming every single day, and you don't want to miss them. Now, let's begin.
The wind came hard off the desert that afternoon, carrying grit sharp enough to cut the skin. Dry Creek wasn't much of a town, a handful of crooked buildings, a church that leaned to one side, and a main street baked to powder. On the steps of Weller's General sat June Harper, her shawl pulled tight against the dust, her daughter Lily pressed against her side. The child's face was pale beneath the dirt, eyes dull from hunger. "Mama," she whispered, "I'm hungry." June's heart twisted. She smoothed Lily's hair, though her own hands trembled from cold and weakness. "I know, baby. We'll find something soon." But she had said that yesterday, and the day before that. Her boots were worn thin, her last coin spent on a crust of bread 2 towns back. She'd gone door to door that morning, asking for sewing, washing, anything, but the townsfolk had only given her polite smiles and turned away. Nobody had work for a stranger with a child. A wagon rattled past, throwing dust across her skirt. June lifted her chin despite the sting. Pride was all she had left, and even that was slipping through her fingers like sand. Lily's small hand tightened in hers. "Are we going to be all right, Mama?" June looked out toward the sun sinking behind the red hills. The sky was on fire, and the world felt empty. "We have to be," she said softly, more prayer than promise. Boot steps echoed on the boardwalk, slow and certain. June didn't look up at first. Most men passed by without a word, but this one stopped. The shadow fell across her shoes. "You looking for work, ma'am?" June lifted her gaze. The man was tall, hat low, coat dusted from the trail. His eyes were steady, not cruel, not pitying, just seeing her. "Name's Matthew Hale," he said. "Run a ranch up the canyon. Could use a woman's hand round the house." June swallowed. "I can cook, sew, wash, but I've got my girl. She comes with me." Matthew nodded once. "Wouldn't have it any other way." Then his voice dropped lower, rough from disuse. "Your daughter needs a home, ma'am, and my bed needs a wife." June's breath caught. Heat rushed to her face, half anger, half something she didn't understand. "If that's your way of—" He raised a hand. "Not that kind of offer. I mean a real one. Marriage. A roof, food, schooling for your girl. I get someone who'll care for my house and my Ruthie." Silence stretched between them. Lily peeked up at the man, curious. Matthew placed a few coins on the step beside June. "Get her a warm meal at Maeve's. I'll be back in an hour. If you want, ride out and see the ranch. No promises, no tricks." June stared at the coins, then at the dust settling around his boots. Could she trust him? Or would this choice change everything? "Would you take that offer? Safety with a stranger, or another night in the cold?" Let's find out in the next scene. The warmth inside Maeve's cafe hit June like mercy itself. The smell of stew, coffee, and baking bread curled through the air, a reminder of the life she'd lost. She guided Lily to a small table by the window and laid down the coins the rancher had given her. "2 bowls of stew, please," she murmured. Maeve, a broad woman with kind eyes, gave her a knowing look. "Rough road behind you?" June just nodded. "Long one." When the food came, Lily's eyes widened. She ate fast, as if afraid the meal might vanish. June tried to eat too, but her stomach knotted tighter with every bite. Who was this Matthew Hale? He seemed honest, but men could wear honesty like a coat, put it on when it suited them. The window pane rattled as wind swept through the street. June watched dust swirl outside and wondered if she'd just made a deal with the devil, or found a man who might save them both. An hour passed. Maeve was wiping down tables when the door creaked open again. Matthew stood there, hat in hand, same calm expression. "Wagon's ready," he said quietly. June's fingers tightened around her cup. "You really mean it? A home? A fair life for my girl?" He nodded. "I don't make offers I don't keep." June glanced at Lily, her cheeks pink and full again. For the first time in months, her daughter looked alive. She stood. "All right, Mr. Hale, show me this ranch of yours." The wagon rattled down the dusty trail, wheels crunching over gravel and sagebrush. June sat on the wooden seat beside Matthew Hale, her daughter Lily curled against her lap, already dozing. The air smelled of pine and distant rain. It had been so long since June felt the safety of someone else's pace guiding the way. Neither of them spoke for a while. The silence wasn't heavy, just new. Matthew's hands were firm on the reins, his shoulders broad beneath a sun-faded coat. Every so often he glanced her way, studying her like a man trying to measure what fate had just placed beside him. "You don't talk much," June said finally. "I talk when it matters," he replied, a ghost of a smile tugging at his mouth. "Talkin' don't build fences." She almost smiled back. Almost. "And what are you buildin' now, Mr. Hale?" He looked out at the hills ahead, where the sky met the red earth. "A home. Maybe a second chance, if you'll take it with me." June stared ahead, unsure whether to laugh or cry. A home. The word tasted like honey and danger both. The sun dropped lower, turning the plains to gold. When she saw the outline of a white house in the distance, her breath caught. Solid, warm, waiting. Something tells me this ride changes everything. If your heart's beating like June's right now, don't go anywhere. The real test begins when she meets his little girl. The wagon creaked to a stop before a two-story house nestled against the foothills. Its white boards were weather-stained. The porch sagged a little, but smoke curled from the chimney like a promise. June breathed in the scent of pine and horses. It smelled of living, not just surviving. Before Matthew could step down, the front door banged open and a small whirlwind shot out. Ruthie Hale, dark-haired and freckled, charged across the yard, bare feet kicking up dust. "Papa!" she shouted, then skidded to a halt when she saw the strangers in the wagon. "Who are they?" Matthew rested a gentle hand on her shoulder. "This here's Mrs. Harper and her daughter Lily. They'll be staying a while." Ruthie's eyes darted to Lily, who peeked shyly from behind her mother's skirt. "You got a doll?" Ruthie asked bluntly. Lily shook her head. "No, I got a ribbon." "That'll do." Ruthie grinned, already reaching for her hand. "Come on, I'll show you the barn. There's kittens." June watched them run off, laughter echoing across the yard, and something inside her chest loosened. For the first time in months, her little girl was laughing, really laughing. Matthew caught her glance. "Told you they'd get along." June nodded, eyes damp. "Seems your Ruthie's got a kind heart." He looked toward the porch, then back at her. "Maybe she learned it from her mother. Maybe she's ready for another woman to teach her again." The evening air held its breath. June wasn't sure if her heart was breaking or beginning to heal. The night settled soft over Red Willow Ranch. Stars scattered like spilled salt across a black sky. Inside, the hearth glowed warm, throwing light across the wooden walls. June sat by the fire, mending a tear in Lily's dress. Across from her, Matthew Hale poured 2 cups of coffee, his movements steady, deliberate. "House feels different with voices in it again," he said quietly, handing her a cup. June smiled faintly. "Hope it's not too noisy for you." He chuckled, low and rough. "Noise ain't the problem. Silence is." He stared into the flames for a long moment. "My wife, Margaret, passed 2 winters back. Fever took her fast. Since then, it's just been me and Ruthie. I can mend fences, break horses, run a herd, but I can't braid hair or bake biscuits. Girls need more than a father who smells like leather and dust." June lowered her eyes. The honesty in his voice disarmed her more than charm ever could. "You're a good man, Mr. Hale. Ruthie's lucky." He shook his head. "We'd both be luckier if you stayed." Her hand stilled. The fire crackled, filling the quiet between them. "You barely know me." "I know enough," he said softly. "You hold your chin up when the world tells you not to. That's all I need to know." June looked into the fire, then into his eyes, and for a heartbeat, the emptiness inside her eased. "He's not just offering marriage, he's offering healing. But can June trust it? Keep listening. Their pasts are about to catch up to them." Morning broke bright and golden over Red Willow Ranch. The scent of fresh bread drifted from the kitchen, mingling with the sound of 2 little girls' laughter outside. June Harper stepped into the yard, apron tied at her waist, and felt, for the first time in years, like she belonged somewhere. She knelt in the garden, turning the rich soil with her hands. "This ground could grow again," she whispered. "Just needs a little care." From the barn, Matthew Hale's voice carried through the air, deep and calm as the land itself. He was teaching Ruthie and Lily how to feed the horses, patient with their clumsy excitement. June smiled, the warmth of it soft and dangerous. Then came the sound. Hooves. Hard, fast, wrong. Dust rose beyond the fence line. 3 riders thundered into the yard, their faces shadowed, their eyes mean. "June Harper!" one barked, dismounting. "Well, I'll be damned! You thought you could run from your debts?" June's blood ran cold. Her past, dressed in dust and fury, had found her. Matthew stepped from the barn, rifle across his arm. His voice stayed calm. "You're on private land, mister. Best turn around." The man sneered. "We'll leave when we get what's owed." June's heart pounded. Lily clung to her skirt, trembling. Matthew shifted the rifle, his stance unyielding. "You want trouble, you'll find it here." The men hesitated, spitting curses before retreating in a storm of hooves and dust. June's hands shook. She met Matthew's eyes and knew peace had just turned to peril. The sun hung low, bleeding red over Red Willow Ranch as the riders disappeared beyond the ridge. Silence clung heavy in their wake. June Harper stood frozen in the yard, heart still galloping faster than any horse. Her hands trembled as she gathered Lily close, whispering, "It's all right, baby." But it wasn't. Not yet. Matthew Hale lowered his rifle slowly, eyes never leaving the horizon. "They'll be back," he said. "Men like that don't ride off for good." June's voice broke. "They want money. I don't have it, Matthew. I left everything behind." He turned to her, jaw set. "They don't want money anymore, June. They want control. And you're under my roof now." Her breath caught. "That makes me your problem." He shook his head. "That makes you my responsibility." He stepped closer, his shadow falling across her face. "If they come again, they'll have to go through me and this ranch." The determination in his tone sent a strange warmth through her chest. For the first time, someone wasn't walking away. Someone was standing for her. She looked at the dust swirling where the men had been, and then back at Matthew. "They said they'd want proof of marriage next time." He nodded once, steady and sure. "Then let's give them the proof they want." June's lips parted, the weight of his words sinking deep. "Would you marry a man you barely know to save your life?" That's what June faces next. Stay with me? Her answer changes everything. The lamps burned low inside Red Willow Ranch, their glow soft against the wooden walls. June Harper sat at the table, her hands folded tight, knuckles white. Upstairs, the girls were asleep, the faint sound of their breathing a fragile peace. Matthew Hale leaned against the door frame, arms crossed. The storm of the day still lingered in his eyes. "They'll come back soon," he said quietly, "and when they do, they'll expect to find a husband by your side." June's heart thudded. "You'd marry me just to keep them away?" He shook his head. "Not just for that. You and your girl deserve better than running from the past. My Ruthie needs a woman's hand. Maybe this is what was meant to be." She looked up at him, torn between fear and hope. "You don't even know the kind of trouble I carry." "I know enough," he replied. "You're strong. You don't give up. That's worth more than gold out here." For a long moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the whisper of wind against the windows. June could feel the weight of the choice pressing against her ribs. "Marriage isn't just a paper," she said softly. "It's trust." Matthew's voice gentled. "Then trust I'll keep you safe." June's eyes met his. Somewhere in that quiet, the fear gave way to something steadier. She drew a long breath. "All right, Matthew. Tomorrow morning." His jaw eased, and for the first time that night, he smiled. Morning crept softly over Dry Creek, washing the sky in pale gold. The chill clung to the air as June Harper stood outside the small chapel, her hands trembling around a simple wildflower bouquet Ruthie had picked at first light. Her heart thundered louder than the church bell that tolled once, slow and low. Matthew Hale waited at the altar, hat in hand, shoulders squared like a man ready for battle. But this time, his fight was for something tender. The preacher cleared his throat, and the hush inside felt sacred. Lily and Ruthie sat together on the front pew, swinging their feet, faces glowing with unfiltered joy. June's dress was plain, her veil just a scrap of lace. But when Matthew looked at her, she felt like the richest woman in the territory. "I do," he said simply, voice deep and certain. June's breath caught. Her own words came out softer, trembling but true. "I do." The preacher smiled, closing his book. "Then by God's grace, you are husband and wife." Outside, the wind carried the faint echo of church bells through the valley. The girls raced ahead, laughter trailing behind them. Matthew turned to her, eyes warm and steady. "You'll never run alone again, June." She smiled through tears. "And you'll never face an empty house." A marriage born of necessity, But will love ever grow from it? Don't go anywhere. Their hearts are just beginning to learn what forever means. The days after the wedding passed in quiet rhythm, like the steady hum of a windmill on the prairie. June Hale, the name still felt strange on her tongue, found herself rising before dawn, stoking the fire while the girls slept tangled in quilts upstairs. The scent of coffee and cornbread filled the house, weaving new life into its timbers. Outside, Matthew worked the fences, the steady swing of his hammer echoing through the valley. Sometimes he'd glance toward the house and catch June at the window. She'd smile, small but sure, and for a man who had lived 2 years in silence, that single smile felt like redemption. The debt collectors came once more, but this time they found a husband waiting with a marriage paper and a loaded rifle. They left without a word. Peace, real, grounded peace, settled over Red Willow. One evening, June and Matthew sat on the porch, watching Lily and Ruthie chase each other through the tall grass. Fireflies blinked in the dusk, their glow soft and fleeting. "You fixed the place up good," Matthew said quietly. June glanced at him, her eyes gentle. "Maybe it fixed me first." He didn't reply, just reached for her hand, calloused and warm. She didn't pull away. The silence between them was no longer lonely. It was comfortable, earned, alive. Somewhere in that stillness, June realized she wasn't surviving anymore. She was living. Spring came early to Red Willow Ranch, painting the valley in soft greens and wildflowers. The air smelled of rain and new beginnings. June Hale stood in the garden she'd once thought barren, her hands deep in the warm soil. Rows of corn and beans stretched neatly before her, tender shoots reaching toward the sun, proof that care and patience could make anything grow again. From the porch, Matthew watched her, his hat tilted low, pride glinting in his eyes. He'd never imagined the ranch could feel so alive. Children's laughter echoing through the fields, supper on the stove, the sound of June humming a hymn under her breath. Lily and Ruthie raced past the garden, their braids flying as they chased a stray colt toward the barn. June laughed, wiping her hands on her apron. The sound was bright and full, a sound Matthew hadn't heard in his home for years. He walked down the steps, boots crunching on gravel. When he reached her, he took her hand, rough palm to soft skin. "I said once my bed needed you," he said, voice low and steady. "Turns out it was my heart that did." June's eyes shimmered in the fading light. "And mine," she whispered, "just needed a home." They stood there in the golden dusk, the ranch humming with life around them, two souls weathered by loss, now rooted in something stronger than longing. Love had come quietly, like spring, soft, certain, and here to stay. The years softened their scars, but not their love. At Red Willow Ranch, laughter replaced silence, and two weary hearts finally found their rest. Love had come like dawn, slow, certain, and forever.
Thank you for watching till the end. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. We'll be dropping brand new powerful stories every single day. See you on the next one.